Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Anderson, and although I am grappling with the idea of each student being unique and different, therefore requiring different needs and approaches on a case by case or student by student basis, within my current fifth grade class, which is composed of gifted and high ability students, the approach that I find to be most beneficial to developing students into skilled readers within the current context of this school year is the bottom up theory. So let's begin by setting the foundation and defining two things: skilled reading and the bottom up approach. Skilled reading is defined as the fluent execution and coordination of word recognition and text or language comprehension. Text or language comprehension is the context of a skilled reader. It is interchangeable with language comprehension. Word recognition is composed of phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition. Language recognition includes background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. The bottom-up approach is defined as a theoretical approach that focuses on building the skills needed to read, such as phonics and decoding. In the bottom-up reading process, the reader decodes letter by letter, word by word, the written symbols in the text, and then reassembles the pieces to form meaning. So, the bottom-up approach is based off of or derived from cognitive processing perspectives. So, cognitive processing perspectives seek to describe the underlying mental processes in the act of reading. The processes began to develop following the cognitive revolution in psychology that began in the 1950s. I will be exploring two models, the simple view of reading and Scarborough's reading rope. These intertwine as Scarborough's reading rope builds onto the simple view of reading. The end goal of these models is reading comprehension. More background into these models will be examined shortly. Both models are composed of two factors, word recognition and language comprehension, that both lead to the end result, like when combined, of reading comprehension. Both of these also serve as models to show the true complexity of the reading process. The models that apply most to literacy learning within my current classroom are the simple view of reading and its expansion, Scarborough's reading rope. Both models seek to provide clarity and understanding on the achievement of reading comprehension. As cognitive psychology continued to grow as a revolution in psychology to combat the persistent literacy crisis present in the United States, in 1986, Go and Tunmer wrote an article that proposed the simple view of reading. This article sought to address the educational debate over the role that decoding played in skilled reading comprehension. Decades later, in 2001, Dr. Hollis Scarborough proposed his theoretical stance, self-titled Scarborough's Reading Rope. His reading rope served as an illustrative metaphor for the complexity of learning to read and the processes that it includes. The foundation of the reading rope is built upon the simple view of reading, and Scarborough's rope further extends the simple view of reading with subskills to further understand of what all encompasses word recognition and language comprehension. Therefore, I will get into this in a little bit, but it just really dives into the complexity that the reading process is. So, why the bottom-up theory? What if it's not followed? So, for example, I am showing the framework of the simple view of reading. As you can see, let me see, is there a pointer tool? Darn. Okay, there's not a pointer tool, but if you can see my mouse, it would be really cool, but I don't think you can. But as you can see, the first example has word recognition as 5/10 or half times 1 for language comprehension, and we get the result of half reading comprehension. But if you have no word recognition and language comprehension, you have no language comprehension, no reading comprehension, I apologize. But if you have word recognition and language comprehension, you have reading comprehension. However, it's also important to note that if one score doesn't improve, like they both stay stagnant, the other is impacted, making skilled reading comprehension unattainable. So let's say word recognition is half, language comprehension is half. That would make reading comprehension equal a quarter. So, the framing of the simple view of reading as a multiplication equation is intentional. It's to show the importance of teaching word recognition and language comprehension before reading comprehension, as reading comprehension cannot be strong without those two factors. It also represents the factors of word recognition and language comprehension combined give us the product or end goal of reading comprehension. So, if word recognition and or language comprehension are lacking, reading comprehension, again, cannot be achieved. Next, we have Scarborough's reading rope. So, it is an amazing metaphorical representation that I'm willing to bet each of us has been exposed to at some point over the last several years with the integration of the science of reading being embedded into the Georgia Early Literacy Act. I'm so sorry. So, Scarborough's reading rope represents the subskills or components of language comprehension and word recognition as strands. So you see the individual strands, and we'll go more into them. But each strand is a different color. I chose this image for that reason, so that you can see how each strand truly builds up the culminating product of skilled reading. So, as these strands are attained, they're woven together, then the two skills of word recognition and language comprehension then intertwine, joining together as a singular rope that is representative of skilled reading or reading comprehension. Without each individual strand, the rope cannot be formed and skilled reading cannot be achieved. The model shows the bottom rope skills that become increasingly automatic through early literacy, the goal being by the end of third grade, these skills have been fully attained and are automatic so that we can then work on the upper rope skills. The skills that are in the lower rope are the word recognition skills, and those are phonological awareness, decoding, and sight recognition. It's important to note, though, that sight recognition is not sight words. It's just being able to recognize not sight words or high frequency words, I apologize, but it's being able to recognize those common terms that occur frequently. The top rope skills are infinite, meaning they're not finite, or I think that's the right way to say it. I apologize. Because our language and our vocabulary and our background knowledge is always growing. As we are developing and growing, we are continually growing. So the top rope skills are infinite. Us as educators, we're also always growing. So they're always growing and expanding as we are always learning. The skills that encompass the upper rope skills, they become increasingly strategic as they weave together and join the lower rope skills to achieve skilled reading. The upper rope skills are language comprehension skills. Those skills include background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. These skills become increasingly strategic as the word recognition skills become increasingly automatic, resulting in skilled reading or reading comprehension. So, a variety of research again and again proves the effectiveness of the bottom-up theories. In fact, the video that we watched on the simple view of reading stated that again and again it has been proven, but it has never been disproven. So, the research set forth clarifies what good readers do, how they achieve good reading, and additionally how the models help uncover understanding for educators on what students may be struggling with, narrowing it to 3 options: language comprehension, decoding, or word recognition, or a combination of the both, therefore helping educators select the best interventions and enrichment for students who are becoming skilled readers. Through a variety of studies, the findings remain steadfast. The simple view of reading, therefore Scarborough's reading rope because they're intertwined, works. It is a predictor of future success, and the progression of lower rope skills intertwining with upper rope skills continually contributes to the building of reading comprehension. So some results from some studies that I read about, or some research studies that I read, state that a longitudinal study shows that preschool oral language is strongly predictive of later reading comprehension via listening comprehension, and confirms that the developmental pathways of listening comprehension and word reading are largely independent, meaning those lower rope skills are needed. They predict if later the listening comprehension and the upper rope will be achieved. Additionally, it says the results of a different study shows that there is strong support for the SVR, which means simple view of reading, with elementary school students. And then lastly, it said our results indicate that word recognition and listening comprehension are significant direct predictors of reading comprehension. Technology. So, technology is an amazing tool that can play a vital role in intervention for struggling readers and enrichment for striving readers. Technology tools that build on the essential skills that align with the theoretical approaches can encompass many different resources. For example, there's a variety of learning programs that can be purchased to build these skills, identify these skills, diagnose these skills or lack thereof. So some that I can think of are Starfall, Imagine Learning, iReady, iExcel if you're familiar with that, Amplify Reading, and the list goes on and on. Additionally, there are amazing assistive technology tools. This is also known as AT tools, such as text-to-speech, display controls, and audiobooks that help build on these skills, specifically the lower rope skills. So, for example, Read Aloud is really good for the kids to be able to hear what good reading sounds like. Another helpful tool to use when addressing decoding is OCR, or optical character recognition, which turns a photo into an editable Word document. Some of these similar tool that can be used to generate something similar would be Lumio, so that students are able to really get into the text or the photo. Lastly, as we have seen with the push in the last year or so, we can use AI, or artificial intelligence, paired with our pedagogy, because we have to use our professional best judgment and our knowledge of the students, to adapt activities, provide interventions and enrichments, and much more. With technology, opportunities are truly endless. So, some suggested activities to build on word recognition and language comprehension are word wall, think, pair, share, and think alouds. So, a strategy that is used cross-curricularly is word wall. A word wall can be defined as a collection of words that are displayed in large, visible letters on a display surface in the classroom. The word wall is designed to be an interactive tool for students and contains an array of words that can be used during writing and reading. Word walls can be used before, during, and after reading, and can be done as a whole group, small group, individually, or prepped by the teacher. The skills that are built with word walls are phonics, spelling, both decoding and encoding, vocabulary, and writing. So with word wall, you can do an interactive word wall strategy that's seen a lot in the EL curriculum. Also, I personally prep word wall before I teach, so that when I'm unpacking learning targets, kids can kind of refer to it and see it, and I change my word wall out constantly. And I also have them, I teach all subjects within my current context, so I have them for each subject as well. Think, Pair, Share is another amazing strategy. It is a collaborative learning strategy where students work together to solve a problem or answer a question about an assigned reading. Also, it can predict the reading, what's going to happen next, etc. The strategy requires students to think individually about a topic or answer to a question, first independently. Then they share their ideas with a classmate. Discussing with the partner is known to maximize the participation, focus attention, and engage student in comprehending the reading material. This also, we know students learn best with each other, and that is such a huge push in our classrooms right now, is collaboration with students. Think, Pair, Share can be used to generate background knowledge and apply literacy knowledge, as well as integration of verbal reasoning, and it can be used before, during, and after reading. Lastly, think alouds. Think alouds in my head are basically just modeling. Think alouds have been described through reading rockets as eavesdropping on somebody's thinking. When using this strategy, teachers verbalize aloud while reading a selection orally. During a think aloud, you read a text aloud while verbalizing thoughts, predictions, questions, connections, reflections, etc. This helps students understand how to actively engage with the text, making inferences, monitoring their comprehension, etc. It can be used before reading, like making predictions before, during reading, obviously, and after reading to reflect on the reading. It builds on decoding skills, sight recognition, and all of the upper rope skills, the background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. Okay, the simple view of reading, and therefore Scarborough's reading rope, is used cross-curricularly through the suggestive activities outlined on the previous slide. According to Reading Rockets, when students have difficulties in reading, we have to ask if it stems from decoding or if they lack understanding of what they're reading, or both. Further extending that, if it is both, it is a more complex process and has to be addressed with interventions. However, it is also stated that if reading scores are low and decoding is strong, then students have a language deficit. I apologize. Additionally, through the bottom-up theoretical stance, I'm able to provide interventions, scaffolds, enrichments, and high-quality Tier 1 instruction aligned to student needs. For example, within my current class, I have a twice exceptional student who is both gifted and has an IEP for reading. The student's reading deficits lie within lower rope skills, which evidently or obviously affects his comprehension. He focuses a lot of his attention on decoding the words. He gets really tripped up, almost embarrassed, and he's unable to decode the word a lot of the times. When he's unable to decode the word, he doesn't even understand what he's reading because he doesn't know what the word is. Additionally, when he's focusing on decoding that word and applying all his skills to that, he's not really comprehending. He's not using that muscle of the brain. Through analysis of the individual strands of the reading rope, or skills, sub-skills within the simple view of reading, or Scarborough's reading rope, I can best scaffold for students during small group and group them for additional language and literacy block or all block. Lastly, as anyone who teaches ELA, specifically module block with EL education, there's an abundance of think alouds or explicit modeling for students on how to think through the skills required to be a skilled reader, as well as applying the knowledge obtained through the reading to the activities that follow, showing the importance of reading for knowledge. In summation, the end goal of literacy learning is reading comprehension, and teachers should be asking themselves, how do we, as the educators, bridge where they, the students, are as a reader to a confident comprehender? How are we going to build that bridge from them as a reader to being a comprehender? Thank y'all so much for watching and for the feedback that y'all provide. Here's a list of the references that I used. If you would like to know more or have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank y'all.